Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. We post an interview with an amazing Canadian each weekday for your daily inspiration. Today, I would like to introduce you to my friend and fellow Rotarian, Eric Bennett. In fact, you can call him President Eric for one full year. Eric was born and raised in Calgary and loves it here. His better half, Arwen, who's amazing, and he have been together for 19 years. Their little girl, Bella, has been with them for 15 years in August. So nice. Besides Eric's loved ones, he is very passionate about travel with purpose, exploring new cultures and old history, mentoring students at MRU, challenging himself through sports such as snowboarding, XC skiing, and mountain biking. Please find his full bio attached. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, me too. It's new. This is new for me. Yeah, I've been on one podcast before, which was interesting and is very casual, but this is a little bit more formal. Maybe I should have put a long sleeve shirt on. I don't know.
No, you can be whatever you want. This is all about you, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful.
So may we start with the questions I sent you?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. So the first one seems to be the most difficult one for folks to answer. It's the one that's talking about your biggest challenge over the last few months.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of your guests are probably saying similar things, but it's the greatest challenge, besides now officially taking over the presidency of the Rotary Club, which is another big thing. Honestly, I would say for me, in my line of work, it's being able to maintain positivity on all these challenging times and adversity. It's tough to find those silver linings of optimism around a constant barrage of media hype and fear, and if we look out across the world, even south of the border right now, it's just everywhere. On the wealth management side of things, my whole world kind of got a little bit more challenging as soon as March hit and COVID hit our shores. So it was like going into triage mode where I locked myself in my basement, and it was just handling clients' calls over and over and over and over again, me reaching out to them, making sure that they know that we have, to the best of our abilities, their interests looked after and their families looked after. And we'd be working 10-12 hour days, Monday through Sunday, just go, having these conversations. And I wouldn't even really have the opportunity to digest it for myself, right? Because we're just trying to frame everything positivity, focus on what we can control for them. And then when I got to go upstairs at the end of the night, I got my moment to focus on my fears and think about my family and digest what does this mean for me, so that I would say, honestly, that's been one of the greatest challenges. People come to us not to run for the hills when things happen. We're here to, and we're also not here to be like a big silver lining, the glass is always full type of picture. We want to be pragmatic, and we want to bring the best minds and abilities around us to the table to keep everyone calm. So that was really challenging. It reminds me of back when I started in the business before the great financial crisis hit, and so everything was hunky-dory. Oil hit $140 a barrel. Everything was, wow, what a great world to be in. And then, financial crisis hit, and markets fell 40 some odd %. And then it went into triage again. How do you talk to people and keep people calm and keep them there? It was another one of those moments, right? So,
well,
yeah.
You're very good at that, Eric. In all of the communication I've seen you in, even in the most difficult situations, you definitely keep everyone calm.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I immediately created my COVID toolbox. And so just immediately pulling from, all the biggest asset managers in the world, and economists and money people and psychologists and behavioral therapists. And I'm just pulling everything I could possibly build into this little toolbox. And then I just go to work pushing that out, because I think the more information, the real information you can push out during those moments, the more. And actually, yeah, we didn't have a single client react the wrong way or, react in a negative way, and to this moment, they're actually pretty calm. And I've had some great feedback saying that it was a result of that that high frequency of information that we were pushing
Sure.
out when it was needed,
Absolutely. I can see that happening. Well done, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And the 3 things that you want to share with everyone.
Oh yes, 3 things I'd like to leave with the audience. Yeah, I had to think about this one yesterday. It's like, so I'm like, is it related to COVID? Is it related to life now? I was just trying to think about that. One of the things, and it comes back to my Rotary career, and how I find myself to be the president of the Rotary Club now. I wholeheartedly meant that you pay to occupy the space in your community. Rotary changed my life. I didn't go out there looking for it. I had no idea what it was. I was there all for myself, building a business, networking, prospecting. And then one of the gentlemen, Walter Hasel, instead of coming to have coffee with me, he goes, "Join me for lunch at the Palliser next Tuesday." And then I show up and, there's this whole thing going on. I had no idea what it was. And he waves me over and we march in, they sing "Oh Canada," they sang "Happy Birthday" to some people I didn't know. It was kind of campy, but fun. The guest speaker at the time was the chief investment officer of Virgin Galactic.
Oh, wow.
Branson Space Travel Company.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, and that was an amazing talk, and then they ended the meeting and we walked out and I was like, what was that? I had no idea what that was, He's like, "Would you like to come back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so," So he kind of flipped the script on me. I wanted him as like a client as part of my business. And next thing I know, I'm a Rotarian. But yeah, so that's one of the things is, volunteering is the best way to shrink a city from, 1 degree to like no degrees of separation. And so from your personal life, professional lives, that's the component. A lot of people in my industry, they looked at me during those years of building my business and they're like, "How can you take the time? How can you afford the time to go and volunteer and do things? You should be 24/7 building your business and blah." And I'm like, I can't afford to not do it.
Right.
And the reason I'm still in my seat today, and I think relatively successful professional wise, is fully because of Rotary, expanding my networks in such an amazing way, surrounded by amazing like-minded people, so that's kind of one of the things I'd like to leave the audience with is, go out there and get involved and do it, do it selfishly. I don't care, but because it all works out and it's amazing. There's no reverse engineering of that. Like it's very simple, right? What else was I going to talk about for leaving behind? It's if you focus on the success and well-being of others, it comes back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a continuation of the volunteering aspect side of things. But as you mentioned, I do mentor students at Mount Royal University. Just got my 5-year award last year, and that was fun. Every year I get a student or two and I get to mold their minds, but create my army. No, they're just amazing, and it's taught me more than I'm sure I've left them with. Right. And so, if you just truly focus on the well-being and success of others, realize that it's like a win-win-win game out there. There's no that old school business mantra of to be a winner, there has to be a loser, right?
Yeah.
Someone has to win in the transaction and lose in the trend. I don't believe that at all. That's old school. That's simple-minded vertical thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, like again, volunteering, focusing on the well-being and success of others pays off to you tenfold. And it's actually worked out incredibly well for me so far in my life. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Last thing one of the things that I leave my clients all the time is focus on critical thinking. It's an art really that's kind of been lost a little bit in our society, I think. There was a study done at MIT and the lady that that studied, she studied all the news and media outlets across North America,
Hmm.
and she plotted them on a grid, and whether one was like very right leaning, very left leaning, very like self-focused, or very like community focused. And so she had Fox News and everything there. I think there's like a scatter plot of, I don't know, like, 1,500 or 2,000 different news agencies, from small towns to like larger cities and so on. And I send that out to my clients because during certain events in the world and so on, clients I found were reacting differently to things. And I could find out real quickly, just by them telling me where they're getting their news and media sources from, their information from, why they're thinking a certain way. And the interesting thing with technology nowadays is that if you follow one news source, right, it immediately tracks you through your cookies and technology, and it pushes back all similar like-minded news sources that reaffirm and confirm what you are reading, what you are now being led to believe. So you lose that critical thought. You don't even know what's really happening to you. So for me, managing clients, and I'm like, wow, I get this fear. I don't understand where it's coming from, but tell me where you're reading. And then sure enough, I could pull up the scatter plot and be like, this is where you're getting your information from, Yeah. In fact, you put a big circle around it, and now you can, so now if you understand that, you can go out there and put things in place that help you research better and pull your information better. I always tell my clients, I'm like, reset, delete your cookies every night. Make it part of your practice. Like clear your history, clear everything. So that next morning when you read something, it's not being pushed to you, right? It's just going to be what it is. And whether you follow it and research it more and study it more, then the machines kick in after that. But that way you at least have a fighting chance of hearing maybe the opposite side to what you're reading, So in this day and age, that it's so important to have something like that, right? Because the bots are against you.
I agree with you. Yeah. And so true. The agenda setting is very, very much alive and well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I don't know, like three things I'd like to leave with the audience. That was kind of like not really COVID related, just more like broad related for me. Is that fine?
Yeah. It's perfect. It's perfect. I knew it would be.
Wonderful. Thank you.
What about your good news or legacy story?
So yeah, you asked me, it was kind of three questions tied into one question, right? What legacy would I like to leave as a result of the crisis? That was an interesting one. You also asked me, or maybe tell a good news story, or maybe perhaps what opportunities exist now.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to do the legacy piece. I would love to come out of this, with happier clients, more clients, happier volunteering experiences. So that would be nice. But I wanted to focus more on kind of what opportunities I think exist now as a result of this COVID crisis, and it's and actually it kind of came out of the coffee meeting we had earlier, you, me, and Steve Allen, and I couldn't agree more, with the focus or conversation we had on poverty reduction. And I think the example Steve used was hunger charities. Yeah. And all these students who are in these lunch programs in the city, in schools, now that they're not actually in the classroom setting anymore, they're not eating. And so it's like, what organizations exist out there to keep these lunch programs going for these thousands of kids in the city? We forget about those sort of things. And I love the example, or what Steve was mentioning. There's about 8 or 9 different organizations in Calgary immediately doing the same work, and they're all doing amazing work. But now they're all competing with each other, right? So they lose efficiencies. They're all serving the same audience. They're all vying for the same donor dollar. And as we know, a lot of those donor dollars have dried up, especially from government sector, right? So, how now is going to be a very key time, because a lot of these organizations, they might not be here soon, right? They might not have the funding to continue doing the work that is necessary. So I love this idea of consolidation for efficiency. And because charities, and like a hunger charity, that is such a personal thing. So before this happened, it would be impossible to go to 8 or 9 of them and say, hey, we're all going to sit together and find out if we can match efficiencies and have a better ROI, have a better result, have a better impact, better return on our investment, And there's no way you'd be able to get a group of those folks together to have that conversation pre-COVID. Now, with the funding dried up everywhere, and that you have to be more, I guess, flexible to stay alive, right? And so I think this crisis has now given the rise an opportunity to roll up and consolidate in the not-for-profit sector and a lot of different great charities to become more efficient and effective, whereas before you couldn't have that conversation. So it'll be out of necessity. And you know what, at the end of the day, that's going to make it so much simpler for the end user, i.e. the donor, to say, yes, I realize that, there's 30,000 kids that are not eating in Calgary. Like, could you imagine? I can get behind that. And I don't have to go out there in a confusing way to find out who's doing what. It's just one point of contact, simple. And now through them, they're the ones that are connected through all agency and schools and so on. And they can push that out and have the huge impact on the community.
I love it.
I think that's the opportunity that exists this year. Yeah.
I agree with you, Eric. And obviously Steve Allen and Jim Gray and many others agree. We've had these discussions and look forward to some good coming out of all that.
Oh, yeah. Taking the next step forward from discussion to execution.
Agreed.
Yeah. So never waste a good crisis, as they say.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's what I kind of wanted to leave with for your third question. Yeah.
I'm really glad you did. That's a good one. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your insight as always. Always so inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, that was President Eric Bennett of the Rotary Club of Calgary. He's president for a whole year, so come and get involved. He's amazing. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you on the next one.